how to use the 4 agreements to get you through your criminal case. Have you heard of the 4 agreements? Are you interested in how the 4 agreements might help you in your life or help you with a criminal case? If so, stay tuned because this is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear, and I'm a defense attorney in Washington State. My law firm has been defending people charged with crimes for more than 20 years. And I'm putting out these videos to help the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need. So what is it? What is it, the 4 agreements? What are you talking about, Lance? Well, the 4 agreements is a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's a really important book to me. And I recommend it often to my loved ones, and I recommend it often in my criminal practice because it's basically a practical guide to living. And we all have different theories about how to get by in life, and of course all types of therapy and therapeutic issues are similar. But for me, this book, The 4 Agreements, has been very useful, and it can be very useful in a criminal case as well. Because let's face it, if you're charged with a crime, your life is flashing before your eyes. You're full of anxiety. You feel like your life is over, that there's no end in sight, that it's all or nothing, and the world is stacked against you. And while those are normal feelings to have, they're pretty much usually not true. And so the 4 agreements are sort of rules to live by, and I think they can apply in a criminal case. And they're so important to me. I have the agreements actually sewn into my suits here to sort of remind me of how I could use them in helping my clients and helping navigate the difficult criminal system and just life in general. So I'm not going to cover the whole book, but I'll go through each of the agreements, generally what they mean and how it might be useful in your life and in a criminal case. So agreement number 1 is be impeccable with your word. So what does that mean? It sounds like keep your word, right? And that's not really what the author means. Be impeccable with your word means don't use your speech to harm others. Your word means, the spoken word. Think how powerful words are. Words creates crimes, right? If we threaten someone, that's a crime in and of itself. If we, get into a verbal dispute with our spouse or our loved one, that can create an assault situation, right, where we fight each other. So, be impeccable with your word means use your speech for good. Don't speak ill of others. Don't speak negatively towards others or about others. And I'll admit that's the hardest one for me. The hardest agreement for me is agreement 1 of be impeccable with my word, because when things are hard, we want to say bad things. I don't really like that prosecutor, or that judge was really mean, or this client was so difficult, those type of things. And so in a criminal case, I think things are already really negative if you're charged with a crime, if you're dealing with something. So if you can speak more positively and try to not give voice to the negative things out there, you will feel better, because the 4 agreements are about trying to find your way in the world while feeling better, a way of understanding how we all work together as a species, as people, to create the reality that we live in. And so the hardest one, I think, is being impeccable with your word. And it's the hardest one to conceive of also as it comes to criminal law. But I think, again, not saying really negative things about the victim or the other people involved. And you can tell the truth to your attorney, but try not to focus on the negative. I think more importantly are the next 3 agreements when it comes to criminal cases. The second agreement is basically don't take anything personally, right? Don't take anything personally. And that's really important if you're charged with a crime. Don't take anything personally means that when someone does something negative to you, or they don't put the seat down on the toilet, or they eat the last bit of the potato chips that you wanted, or they even say really negative things to you or about you, it's not really about you. It's not personal to you. It's about them. It's about what's going on in their world, in their life, in the movie that they're living, that they're the star of. So in a criminal case, we're being accused of wrong by the prosecutor, by the court, and it's tough to hear, right? And so if we're being had bad things said about us by the police, by the court, by the prosecutor, by the witnesses, it's not good that's happening, but we don't need to take it personally and believe it, right? We don't need to say, yes, I really am bad, or hey, I'm really hurt because they're accusing me of that. It may not be good that they are, but we don't have to be hurt by it. We only give them power to harm us emotionally if we let them, right? And so in my life as a defense attorney, I can deal with clients that are really activated, and they might have some expectations from not being involved in the court, about expectations that are incorrect. How come my case isn't ordered to resolve? You're a terrible attorney, right? Well, it might be your case isn't resolved because as a really good attorney would know it's not time to resolve it yet. But, in the past, I might take that personally and be mad at that client and fight back with that client and stuff like that. But if I really want to live by these 4 agreements, I can say, well, that's not about me. It's said to me, but it's not because I'm bad. It's because that particular client is going through a hard time, right? They're anxious. Their life is flashing before their eyes, like we said. So for me, if I don't take that personally, I'm going to feel better. And that's what this is all about, isn't it? If we feel better, we can do better for ourselves and for our loved ones. So even if you're not charged with a crime, if you don't take things personally, that protection order that's been filed against you and all the claims, we don't have to be happy about it, but we don't also have to let us wreck us. We can say, hey, those things aren't true. That's your version. I'm okay whether you say that. I'm going to fight back. Okay? So what is the agreement number 3, the third agreement? Super important in criminal law, right? Maybe as important as the second agreement. It's don't make assumptions. Okay? Don't make assumptions. And man, that one's really changed my life. I don't know how many of you have parents out there that really mean well, right? But because they love us so much, they always want to sort of protect us from the bad things, and they'll say, well, if you're driving somewhere, make sure not to get in a wreck, or if you're late getting home, oh my God, something's terrible's happened. How could you be late? Well, assumptions are being made there about what the reason is for something. And that can apply to a criminal case as well. If your lawyer isn't calling you back right away, don't assume they don't care about you, right? Don't assume that it's because your case is terrible. There's lots of reasons why something like that could happen. Your lawyer could be busy doing something else. Your lawyer maybe doesn't realize that they've just made a simple mistake in not calling you. The same way with other parts of your criminal case about making assumptions. Don't make an assumption about the outcome's going to be terrible. That's what we always assume. I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to see my kids again. My life is ruined. Those are assumptions. And us humans, we want to have an answer. And making an assumption, even about a negative answer, makes us usually feel comforted on some level, even if we don't like the answer. So don't make that assumption. So when you feel that popping into your head, oh my God, my life is over. I'm not going to be able to drive again. I'm going to have to go to jail. Is that really helping you, making that assumption? I mean, if it drives you to try to get a good lawyer and do what the lawyer says, some part of that can be useful. But for the most part, when you make an assumption, you are just hurting yourself. You are just hurting yourself, and if you hurt yourself, you're also hurting everybody around you and everybody who depends on you. So it's really important, don't make assumptions. And the final agreement in the 4 agreements, there is a book, The Fifth Agreement, which I love too, a follow-up, but we're going to go through the 4 agreements here. The 4th agreement really applies to criminal cases as well. The 4th agreement is always do your best. Okay? So think about it this way. We're always doing our best with what we have to work with at the time, right? So if we don't do something perfectly in our criminal case, we miss our alcohol and drug information school, we're a little bit late to court, we don't get that message from our attorney and now we can't get a hold of them, don't beat yourself up. All you can do is your best, and your best is going to vary. When you're well rested and you're feeling great, your best is going to be much better than if you didn't get any sleep or you're hungover, right? So it's a sort of a way to forgive ourselves and not an excuse not to do well, but just go, hey, I want to do well, but if I didn't do it perfectly, just do your best, right? So do your best to follow what your attorney says. Do your best to follow the court's orders. Do your best to try to live by these agreements if you find them useful for you, right? If you make an assumption, which I can do all the time, oh, this client called, and what if they're mad at me? And what if they're not happy with something? Well, that's an assumption, right? And that just caused me a lot of stress. Usually it has nothing to do with that, right? And so that's how it might apply to me. And you could probably find some ways for it to apply to you as well. So I'm a big proponent. It's made a big difference in my life, this book, and the audio book is great as well. I think Mr. Coyote is the one who reads the audio book, very soothing voice. And I don't get anything for promoting this. I just think it's really useful. So you can also download the audio book. And I think if you at least listen to these concepts, see if they're for you, and see if you can apply them not only in your criminal case, but in your daily life. For a guy who's been through a lot of counseling and stuff, it's been very useful for me. So if you find this video useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need. And if you've got a criminal situation, you need some help, and you're in Washington State, feel free to give my office a call. We've been doing this for more than 20 years. We'll listen to what happened. We'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.